everyone. Welcome to another quick take on Unknown Film Enthusiasts. So, Nick, you have seen Paddington 2, and I'd like to get your thoughts on this.
Okay. Well, just to start, I did see the first Paddington. I didn't see it in theaters. I saw it when it came to Netflix. And just as a little background, I did read the Paddington books when I was a little kid. It made me excited for marmalade, which I then learned that I hated. So there's ups and there's downs. But yeah, I liked the first one. I thought it was whimsical. It was just a nice little kids movie, and I feel like it had a good message. This movie absolutely blows the first one out of the water. Wow. And I can say with no sarcasm in me whatsoever that I think it's the best children's movie ever made.
Okay, so may I ask, Paddington is not in any way my wheelhouse. What is a Paddington?
Okay, so there is, I believe he's from Peru or some South American country. Okay. It's two bears who can talk. They're part of a species of bear that can talk. Okay. They find this little bear, and he's floating away in the river, and he's going to fall off a waterfall, so they're like, oh, we decide to save him. Mm-hmm. So they rescue little Paddington, they teach him the ways of the world, and then, sadly, the man, it's a couple that dies, that finds him, and he sadly passes away. Okay. And then, but they were met by explorers years before, and one of the explorers said, if you ever come to England, you will always have a place in our house. Okay. And upon this tragedy happening, Paddington goes to England to find help and see that. Mm-hmm. Eventually, he connects to distant relatives of the family, other stuff, and then ends up in the family of the Browns. Okay. And basically, the first movie is just, whimsical little misadventures, Paddington accidentally flooded the house, but the children have fun with him, and the dad's a little short-tempered, but then he learns to let it go in order to make room for Paddington. This movie starts reiterating with the two bears saving Paddington, and immediately Paddington is also one of the most wholesome characters that you will ever see in any movie. Mm-hmm. And basically, it's just as long as we are polite and nice, everything will turn out right. Okay. Which sounds so corny. It fits so well. Okay. And in this movie, all he's trying to do is show his appreciation for his aunt. And the way he decides to do it is that he's going to get this pop-up book of England, because all she ever wanted to do was see England. And that's all. He gets a job, and he's a window cleaner, and it just, everything up, he's being cute about it, he can't get the bucket up, so he has to jump down from the ladder, and this pulls the bucket up, and just everything is for the greater purpose of, he just wants to show his appreciation. Okay. Everyone in the neighborhood appreciates Paddington because he's gone through and he's made them all closer. Mm-hmm. Basically, he's a nice little bear. And there's a washed up actor who sees, you're trying to get this pop-up book? We later learn that there's a connection between him and someone who used to be mischievous, who there's notes in the pop-up book. Okay. The pop-up book gets stolen, and everyone was like, well, we know Paddington was trying to get it. He was here at the scene of the crime because he was trying to prevent this guy from stealing it. Yeah. So they send Paddington to jail. This sounds like a weird setup for a children's movie, but basically he goes into jail and helps. He the very first, as a joke, the other inmates send him, and they're like, if you don't like the food, just go talk to the chef. He's very responsive. Yeah. And Paddington goes over, and he's just like, no, I just want to let you know that I'm not very fond of your cooking, but I think there's stuff we could do to make it better. And it's Mad-Eye Moody from Harry Potter. So he has a big beard, he's burly, his name is Knuckles, and on his fingers it says Knuckles. And he's about to beat up Paddington when he knocks off his hat and tastes the marmalade sandwich that Paddington hides under his hat. And basically he's like, this is the greatest flavor on earth. If anyone touches Paddington, you'll have to go through me. Oh my God. And basically just it's constant build-up of how his greatness of character and his infallible just pureness makes him rehabilitate these people. And basically the whole time the Browns are trying to prove that they're trying to figure out who actually took the pop-up book and what's the end goal. And in a lot of children's movies, there's stupid little things in setup. In this one, every single bit of plot connects back in some other way. So they say that the guy does yoga in the first 2 minutes, so that way later on he can do a split and can save it. They say that Mrs. Brown is practicing for swimming, so that way she can swim the English Channel. Later on, she has to use that to go find herself. Every single thing that they set up, it is Dark Knight levels of writing in a children's movie, which
oh my god,
I cannot express enough how much joy I had in this movie. And slight spoiler, but it's a children's movie, so you know there's going to be a happy ending. In the end, he gets out of jail and he's proved guilt to somewhere else, and he's at home, and he was sick, and then he wakes up, he's like, oh, what's the date? And he's like, oh, it's Aunt Lucy's birthday, like I didn't get her a gift. And they were like, Paddington, go outside. And all she ever wanted to do was see England, and there she was. And it was like, I hate happiness. I wasn't a huge fan of The Martian because I hated how overly optimistic he was. This is the most wholesome and optimistic movie I've ever seen in my life, and I as soon as I walked out, I wanted to go back in and see it again. I have never felt better, and when I think back at how good and pure of soul he is, I nearly start crying. And if you're looking at me right now, you can see that I'm trembling, and I am losing focus because of how much I respect how they handled this character and how good of conscience, good of soul, and just everything about it was done so well. And there's so many good morals in it.
Yeah.
So as a 22-year-old, I could sit there in a theater, and my first thoughts was, God damn it, there's a bunch of kids here. But by the end of the movie, I was sitting there, and I was just so genuinely happy to have shared this experience with other people. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. I think that's also one thing a lot of kids movies, generally kids movies try their best, is they know that parents are going to have to walk into this theater with their kids. So how's it going to resonate with everybody that sees this?
And that's, I really like the Lego movie. And I think that did a good job of, it has, I'm not going to use the word pandering. Specifically for the Lego movie, I'm not going to use the word pandering, because it has enough things where there's a good amount of adult humor, and there's a lot of stuff where a kid will laugh at this, but the adult will laugh at this, or the subtext of it, where on the layer it just seems like a simple joke, but if you look into it, it's a lot smarter.
Yeah.
And that's what I really appreciate about that movie, and I think it really will stand the test of time. Lego Batman, I feel like, is completely the opposite. Every single time they can pander to, well, this will make a kid laugh, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, this is kind of frustrating because I remember how good of a character this person was made to be in the Lego movie, and they're kind of letting me down here.
Yep. Okay.
And that's the difference between a good kids movie and a good movie. And this one crosses the line completely, where it's not a kids movie. It is a movie for all people. It is a movie that is just very, very, very good, and it is perfectly written. Every single actor in it is stunning. But the voice actor of Paddington, Ben Whishaw, who's Q in the new James Bond movies, wonderful job. Sally Hawkins, who was the mute janitor in Shape of Water, she's Mrs. Brown. There's just everything that could have come together just came together, and it's a marvel of a movie, and currently it is the highest rated movie of all time on Rotten Tomatoes, with still a 100% after 187 critical reviews, and I could not stand by this movie more. And I hope that saying this has not created unrealistic expectations, but just genuinely, I have not felt that sense of joy leaving a movie theater, just watching a movie, and just a range of emotions. Because when I think back on it, it had so much heart, and it's so hard to feel that in this day and age where you get a bunch of superhero movies, you get some Star Wars movies, you get the big blockbusters, and those are the ones that make the money. And frankly, I'm kind of upset that Paddington was specifically in the US. Obviously it's more of a European British thing specifically. I wish it was in theaters longer, because I would have paid to take my cousins to see it. I would have paid to, it's so good natured that I cannot possibly think of a bad thing to say about it. And in all genuineness, something needs to knock it out of the park to be even on the same level as Paddington. And at this moment, February 21st of 2018. This is the best movie of 2018.
Wow.
I've only seen a few movies this year, and we'll get to those as the year progresses, and we'll look back on it and see how everything
compares.
But at this current moment, I don't think it could have done it any better.
Okay.
And it's just great, you know?
So, now you said, like, has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes as well. What does that actually entail? To get and maintain a 100% level on Rotten Tomatoes with, you said 108 reviews, something like that?
187.
100.
So what it means is, because Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of people, like, they misconstrue it. So they're like, oh, Batman vs. Superman has a 27%. That means out of 100 has a 27. No. It means 27% of people would recommend the movie or gave it a score of above a 59.
Okay.
So technically, like, Batman vs. Superman has like a 4.3. So out of 10, that's not horrible. It's below half. But like Paddington, I believe it's currently an 8.7.
Okay.
Which is very high. So like, as a reference, Godfather's at a 9. So
right. Wow.
3-point difference between Paddington and Godfather.
Same movie.
And yeah, obviously they're for different people. Well, you have different expectations going into both of them.
Between
but I think
Godfather and
but for merit of movie, I'm someone I can non-sarcastically I could say I love The Godfather and I love Paddington. Which one would I put on right now? Paddington. But yeah, it's a marvel of a movie, and I'm excited to go back and look into it. And it transcends just artistically what you'd expect a children's movie to be. Narrative-wise, it's just amazing, and it has the style of like a Wes Anderson movie where like there's so much symmetry, there's so much art, the colors are like another character in themselves, and just
so it is like also extremely highly intentionally well produced.
Yes,
as well.
It doesn't feel like, well, we needed another movie for the month of January, so we just produced this Paddington movie.
Okay.
So it just, honestly, everything about it just came together, and yeah, I wish it was still playing near here because I would see it again tomorrow. Or I cannot express enough how much I love this movie. Well, and I'm not alone. Like, there are a lot of reviewers who agree with it.
Well, obviously it has 100% on Tomatoes.
But I mean, like, there are a lot of movies with high ratings, and like, I don't know, like, it just makes me so happy that it has the recognition that it does, and it's just so wholesome. And like, it's the movie that we need in a post Brexit. Like, I'm not joking. That's the thing. It's so easy to be like, oh, obviously he's making fun, or it's so genuinely great.
It's the feel good movie of 2018.
Not even just feel good. It's feel good. It's made good. It's like,
it's the moral center.
I could see them using this to teach like film school classes, where it's like, this is how you keep the attention of an adult and a child, but you're not missing anything in between. It's not like they were like, well, we have to aim for this and this. If we miss some stuff, rotate to keep everyone entertained. It's everything about it is expert.
Well, if everything about it is expert, you've gone through this entire review with a smile on your face, getting teary-eyed. Let's ask the big question. How does it connect to Signs?
I'm glad you asked. So, as we go back to our wholesome little bear, Paddington, he is voiced by the wonderful Ben Whishaw, who we can remember was in the movie The Lobster by Yorgos Lanthimos with John C. Reilly, who was in Step Brothers with Will Ferrell, who we recall was in Daddy's Home 2. With Mel Gibson, who was in the critically acclaimed 4 stars on Roger Ebert, Signs. Signs, sealed, delivered. It's Signs.
So I think we can get going away from this knowing go see Paddington 2.
Go see Paddington 2. If it's not playing near you, just watch Signs. But yeah, the first one's on Netflix. Just honestly support this movie if you can. If you have small children, it's great. If you don't have small children, it's great. If you're a child at heart, it's great.
Very good. Thank you very much for listening. We'll talk to you again soon.